My bad. I said it wrong, evidently. Yes, you're right. Bama beat Georgia, and Georgia beat Texas. I'm sorry if I got that confused. My bad. In the last segment, as we were talking about the college football playoff rankings, Bama beat Georgia in what was a hell of a ball game in the second half, and Georgia went to Texas and beat Texas. And the college football playoff rankings favored the SEC. I don't think that's going to, in the Big Ten, I don't think that's going to surprise anybody. Bartu was upset about it. He was tweeting at CFB Matrix is his Twitter. He's got a couple of them, but anyway. Big loser easily is the Big 12 in the college football playoff rankings. Both teams 3 spots under projection. Winners, LSU and Penn State. Only ones 2 spots over projections. LSU and Penn State. 2 spots over projections. Let me go over it again with you. Oregon is 1. They're 9-0. I don't think that surprises anybody. Ohio State is 7-1. They're number 2. They just beat Penn State at Penn State. Georgia's 7-1. They have the dub over Texas at Texas. Evidently, I didn't say that right. Miami is 9-0. How about that? They're not number 2 or number 1.
Incredible.
Okay. So two teams with a loss are ahead of Miami. And Texas comes in at number 5. And they lost at home to Georgia. So that's not a bad loss. You know, some of these teams, Bartu said, could be the committee could look at what you did as 2 losses if you're losing to a team that's going to go 5-7. Texas is losing to a team that's going, worst case, if they lose this weekend, 10-2.
Right.
Because I think Georgia will beat Tennessee next week. If they lose at Ole Miss, I still think Georgia wins out right here. And they beat Tennessee, they beat UMass, and they beat Georgia Tech. And they get Tennessee at home.
Okay.
Tennessee, to me, is shaky on they're a good team for what college football is today because all these teams are flawed, and that's fine. I'm not really all jacked up about that. I mean, we still have some really good teams. Georgia's really good. Bama's really good. Texas. Ohio State, we'll see. I think they're good. I don't know if they're really good. Nobody's great, but really good is the top. And Oregon, look, man, Dylan Gabriel's played for 9 years. And there's something to this. They have recruited. They're a top 5 recruiter. Phil Knight has given Dan Lanning just an open checkbook. Everybody wants that in life. Right. Whatever you're doing, starting a business, doing, just in general. But, they money whip people. They do. Even Bartu, an Oregon Duck alum, acknowledges it. He's still not sold on Lanning as like some kind of great coach. He just said, dude, we're ferocious recruiters because Phil's spending more money than anybody else. He's spending more money, way more money than Georgia or LSU or Alabama in the street at both the high school and portal level. You still got to win with high school 4- and 5-star players. And there will be some outliers, but not many. And as we march on through, we're going to see who has the depth to go all the way to January 15th or whatever it is. It's a long way of more physicality and injuries and so on. I don't know who just because we've never seen this, I don't know who is built to go. Somebody's got to do it.
Somebody.
Built all the way. But Dylan Gabriel has been playing forever, and he's the quarterback. While he's not the best quarterback in the country, he's good, and he's seen it all, and he's got thousands and thousands and thousands of reps.
It's huge.
It is huge. I mean, Jackson Dart has thousands and thousands of reps. Yeah. There's not many that have. I mean, outside of Dylan Gabriel.
No, I mean, you can be hard pressed.
Outside of Dylan Gabriel, it's Dart,
Carson Beck,
but Beck just starting last year. Now he played. Yeah. He played a lot of ball last year. He's played a lot of ball this year, not near as much as Dart. And then I would go to Cam Ward's played a lot of football, Jackson. He has.
Good player.
And Quinn Ewers. Those are the guys outside Dylan Gabriel. Jackson Dart, Quinn Ewers, and Cam Ward.
Diego Pavia.
Yeah.
My man needs to be in every combo. It doesn't matter.
Did they get? No, they did not. They didn't make it. Army did.
They didn't make the top 25?
No, I mean they did in the. It doesn't matter. The AP poll doesn't matter whatsoever.
Right.
But it's fodder for nachos and beer, which is fun.
Yeah, I mean,
Army made it in the real one in the college football playoff rankings. Army made it at 25. Outside looking in, SMU at 13, 8-1, A&M 7-2, 14, LSU 6-2, 15, Ole Miss 7-2 at 16. You're rooting for people above you to lose. I know that's it. We are the Out of Bounds Show. We're brought to you by the Armory, Lake Harbor and Ridgeland. For all your firearms, suppressors, and optics, the Armory, Lake Harbor, and Ridgeland. Want to say good morning. Welcome in. Do we have Kirby Smart? Mm-hmm. All right. Kirby versus Lane, they know each other. They spent a lot of time on the same staff in Tuscaloosa, OCDC. We got Kirby and Lane in Oxford, Vaught Hemingway, biggest game in the history of Ole Miss at Vaught Hemingway. This is Kirby after they beat Texas.
Been in these battles, how do you know how to get the best out of your players when you need it most?
You know, these players get the best out of me, and I'm so proud of these guys because nobody believed, nobody gave us a chance. Your whole network doubted us. Nobody believed us, and then they tried to rob us with calls in this place, and these guys are so resilient. You know what I mean? We talked about intent. What was our intent when we walked on the field? Our intent was not to take pictures, not to do all the superstar stuff. Our intent, our intent was to eat. Our intent was to come eat and be hungry. I'm not interested in all the bells and whistles. What I want is a team that fights their ass off, and they did tonight.
Speaking of the call that was changed in the third quarter, what did you think of the composure you saw from Carson Beck in your offense?
I thought Carson had great composure all day. He had 4 drops to start the game. It didn't rattle the kid. He threw interceptions. It didn't rattle the kid. The guy's a great player. He takes undue criticism, and all he does is lead our team. This was a team victory, offense, defense, special teams, in a tough place to play.
Yeah. So much was made about...
All right, so that was Kirby Smart after they beat Texas at Texas. TJ on the Mac Hike Ford text line says Colorado, if they run the table, they're in.
Stop it.
The committee wants them in. He mentioned Shador. TJ, you're right. Shador's another one who has an insane amount of reps under his belt.
Fact.
So outside of Dylan Gabriel, who's been playing 13 years in college football, you go the next group of guys with just an insane amount of games and reps under their belt are Jackson Dart, Cam Ward, Quinn Ewers, and Shador. I could be missing another one. Thank you for reminding me of Shador. He's a great player. Can Colorado run it? Here it is, right here. They do not have a tough schedule.
No.
At Texas Tech, although that's not a given when you go out to West Texas and things get weird. It's just not out, in Lubbock. They may not be good, but, they're 6-3. They ain't bad. Utah at home. Utah has not been what they usually are. They're 4-4. Whittingham has never been -3 coach effect, -4 coach effect. Never in his life. He's been one of the coach effect leaders the last 20 years. Then they play at Kansas, who lost their OC, as y'all know, last year. And Oklahoma State at home, who's 3-6 and 0-6 in the league. It could be a cakewalk not a cakewalk, but close to it.
Ain't any good.
Good morning. Welcome in. We are the Out of Bounds Show. We're powered by Rick's Pro Truck. Yeah, I have friends going to Knoxville. I hope you enjoy the mountains this time of year and some great food and some Patron tequila, reposado or añejo, or a Tito's espresso martini. And, you know, if you're going to rent an Airbnb, I mean, that's a beautiful, beautiful area. I've been up there. It is wonderful. Going down by the river and hanging out by the restaurants and bars in Knoxville's great because the game's going to be over. And, you know, by the time you get a beer and nachos, speaking of Nachos Day. But it could be a fun trip. I've got buddies going. I've got some Nashville, Murfreesboro buddies going. I'm like, what are y'all doing? And you know, why not? You've already got a pad. You're gonna go. You're gonna celebrate. You're gonna have fun. That's a late game. I mean, whoa. 6 o'clock kick, 7 their time, 7 Eastern time. That'll be over at 10:30 or 11 at night. But Ole Miss is the game of the week, along with Bama at LSU. So Georgia at Ole Miss. These two dudes know each other. They played last year. Remember, Lane did another call to action. Lane's been, I mean, basically his call to action was, we need to raise more money to buy players. And they did get the defensive assets that they needed. It's actually their offense that has let them down this year, and Lane is a brilliant offensive coordinator. But the reason why they lost to Kentucky and the reason why they lost to LSU, I mean, there's many factors, and I know it's nuanced and it's layered, and there's so many variables, but their offense has not performed at the level that we thought, and they can't run the football. Georgia's not really good at running the football, but they can run it a little bit better. Who's going to be able to run the football Saturday afternoon in Vaught Hemingway? That's what I want to know. In the trenches, baby. Who's going to move who over the course of a game? Now, yes, Dart pulling it, explosive plays. Carson pulling it, explosive plays. They can both do it. That will be a factor. But who's going to put their hand in the ground and move the other in the LOS? Holy Mary Olzap. Biggest game in the history of Vaught Hemingway. Ole Miss wins. They continue. They're still in it. Mm-hmm. They lose. It's over. They're going to a Florida Bowl. I mean, you know, Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville, I don't know, whatever. Which is not bad, but nothing like what we wanted. We asked over and over again for 8 months, is this the best team? We were told emphatically yes. Yep. I kept referencing 2015 and all that NFL talent. I was told, no, this is our most talented team. All right.
They got 2 losses left on that schedule.
Who?
Ole Miss.
Oh.
If they lose to Georgia, they're losing to Florida. If they lose to Georgia, it unravels.
Only if Lagway play. If Lagway is healthy, then that is a ball game. If they're playing the Yale walk-on, Ole Miss goes down to Gainesville and wins. Yeah, good point. And then they blow out Mississippi State in the Egg Bowl. This man, Kirby Smart. He's always intense, but he was intense in his press conference this week. Here's we usually don't play these. This is Kirby Smart talking about Lane and Ole Miss and the big matchup on Saturday in Vaught Hemingway.
Yeah, we excited about this opportunity to play in another road big game. Ole Miss has got a tremendous team. You know, Lane's done an incredible job of getting talented players, big physical. The improvement on defense for them is extremely noticeable. These guys are disruptive, powerful, fast. I mean, tons of sacks, tons of tackles for a loss. I think Jackson Dart's playing probably one of the best quarterbacks playing in the country in terms of explosive plays. A lot of respect for how he competes, and I mean, the guy runs extremely physical, like a SEC running back. He doesn't try to avoid contact. He actually seeks it, and you can tell he's got a fiery, competitive attitude, just like his coach does, just like Lane does. So they have a lot of the same personality traits. Tremendous team that really should probably be undefeated. At the end of the day, they've had 2 really, really close games, both games that they could have easily won. So great challenge ahead, and our team's looking forward to it. We'll start getting ready today.
Most people have no clue that in 2023, the best way to make money on Amazon is not with physical products. It's Amazon's other company, Audible. Audible pays.
Kirby, you had some nice words for Dart there. I want to ask you, when I look at the receiving core, does it remind you at all of Burrow and LSU when he had those targets and the way he was playing at that time?
Different offense. I think very different offense in terms of that, but certainly the talent's there. I mean, they've got several draft pick receivers that are good players, got good tight ends. They got a really good scheme. You know, I think this LSU had the same thing, but different scheme. Those two were not the exact same. You know, LSU could go a whole game without trying to run the ball. Ole Miss will run the ball. They commit to the run, and they create shots and RPOs off of their run game. That wasn't really the LSU MO.
Yeah, Coach, you talked about how physically Dart is or how physical he is as a runner. How do you go about coaching that up on the defensive side of the football when the sport's protecting the quarterback nowadays? Is it something you just, hey, play through the echo of the whistle? But I think there was a moment in the LSU game where Whit Weeks kind of gets caught up in this. Is he going to slide? Is he going to be physical? How do you coach playing a quarterback that, you know, has to be protected but runs physically?
Yeah, we talk all the time. We've played a lot of quarterbacks that are good runners this year. You tackle the quarterback like he's a running back. You know, you have to approach it that way. I mean, he's 225 pounds and he lowers his shoulders and he's physical. He doesn't give himself up very often. So, we don't coach it any different than tackling a back. You know, he might drop his shoulder, he might choose to slide. You have to react to what he does, but you have to be physical now. You can't approach this guy like he's going to give himself up because he'll run right through you.
What makes the run defense so successful?
They're big. I mean, they're physical. There's the only remedy for stopping the run is have big people that are hard to move. I mean, in our history here at Georgia, we've traditionally been pretty good at stopping the run. You go back to the Jordan Davis days, which were probably the best we had. So it's a strong physical defensive line, and they have it now. They're physical at the point of attack, and they're good at attacking and stopping the run.
Coach, going back to Dart, same system for him 2 years in a row. Where have you seen that growth for him in his game to this year?
Well, he's more comfortable. I mean, he's played more football. He's got more experience. He's playing at a really high level. He sees things well. I think, he and Lane and the offensive staff are further along. They know what they're looking for. They know when you get in something, what beats that, and they know how to attack it. So he's just a proven winner, and he's a fierce competitor. He's hard to stop.
Kirby, when you reviewed the Florida game with Coach Bobo and the offensive staff, what are some of the key things in terms of Carson cutting down on turnovers that you guys are going to work on?
Just decision making. I mean, I think that's the bottom line. I think I was more pleased after watching the tape than anything because, I mean, I think out of 73 snaps, he had 68 winning decisions, really good decisions. I mean, 68 for 73, pretty good in any sport I'm in that you're in. I think the concern is the mistakes can't be catastrophic. Like you got to make good decisions, and the two plays that he ends up turning the ball over on, they weren't great looks defensively against that call. Like we were expecting something else. So when that happens, you got to play for the next down, right? It's the most common thing in football. You got to be willing to concede a down and move on, especially when it's first down. And both those were, and two of those were those situations. But I still think that 68 out of 73 decision-making processes, he did the right thing and made some really, really elite plays and throws within the game. So it's cutting down on the catastrophic things.
Kirby, on that note, like Carson continues to make some big throws even after the interceptions. Do you think that some of these these mistakes are just kind of that you all are playing a different way, that you're passing so much, and it's just going to happen, or is there something else that worries you about it?
No, I don't know. I think it's I just think first and foremost, he's done a tremendous job overcoming any mistakes he's had in the ability to go out and close things. There's a quality now that when you look across the NFL, you look across all sports, you look across the quarterback position, resiliency is a huge trait. And the one thing that this guy has done is when he's had to, he's gone out with his back against the wall and made some throws. He's overcome some bad throws earlier in the game. But I think he continues to show that. I think that's a good thing. I don't know that it's a product of the throwing. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not that far off from previous years. I think people look at our stats and say that, but there's a skewed game in there. There's a game when we threw the ball the entire second half, just about. So you keep looking at stats and say, well, you're throwing the ball more, therefore you have these. I don't think that's a correlation because we had games last year that it didn't matter what we did in the fourth quarter because we were up by 30, we were up by 20. And you run the game in those. You run the ball sometimes in those. And that's been different. So I don't know that our differences in stats is more indicative of the games we've had to play in.
Kirby, what kind of improvement have you seen from Ben Jurasik since he got here this summer?
I think he's learned the speed and the way to approach practice here. I think sometimes that takes guys, it takes freshmen a long time, but it takes transfers sometimes. They'll say, golly, I didn't really know what it was going to be like. Usually younger guys that come in, transfers, not necessarily older guys, but his ability to practice well has got better with every week. And then it's translated to what he puts on the field. And he plays more physical. He practices more physical. He bought into the idea that, if I actually practice like a game, I'll play better in the game. And that's helped him. It's helped us.
Yeah, Ole Miss is obviously a team that heavily leans into the transfer portal. How would you assess how your team has gotten contributions out of the guys that you brought in from the transfer portal this offseason?
I'm trying to think of who all we've got. I mean, Ben Jurasik is probably one of the primary contributors for us. We've got some guys in the secondary who came in that have probably helped some on special teams roles and helped some there. I think it varies position to position and year to year, depending on what you need. We've also got some really good young, talented freshmen that have come in that are going to be good players that we took over some transfers.
This is what 5 pounds of body fat looks like. Want to lose this and more? Keep watching. Have you seen this guy? The one that says...
Yeah, Kirby, when you go back and watch the film from Saturday, one, how impressive was that interception that C.J. Allen made in the fourth quarter? And two, just how have you seen his football instincts develop as he's played more and more throughout this year?
Yeah, I think his confidence has improved. I was watching the Ole Miss game from last year, and I'm remembering, him and Raylan having to be out there together and playing in that game, and that's not normal for an inside linebacker to be playing as a true freshman in that magnitude of a game. And I think about seeing that picture and then seeing the picture of him playing against Florida. I thought the Florida game was one of his best games since being here. All in all, he had a couple touchdown saving type tackles. He had a couple checks on our defense. The obvious was the interception. He's a high motor, high energy, and you know what? He practices really hard too. So it carries over for him, and we have to keep him improving at that same rate.
And Kirby, overall with this week, what are you kind of focusing on for Ole Miss? What are your biggest challenges that you foresee ahead?
Getting better. I mean, it's not always just about Ole Miss. It's about, we've got a tough schedule remaining, and Ole Miss is who we're focused on this week. And it's about us looking kind of inside and saying, what can we improve on and get better at that's going to help us in this game? It's going to be a very passionate, competitive, high-stakes game on the road in the SEC, in which, I've been to Ole Miss a lot of years, and it's a really tough place to play. And they'll have a great environment. So we're focused on us and getting better.
Kirby, what stands out to you about Ole Miss's run game this year?
Well, they do a great job of spreading you out. They're almost always right in the box count. So when you look at their runs, they got one more hat than you do, whether that's, I think at one point, I don't know if he still is, Jackson Dart was their second leading rusher. And that's just telling you, man, they got, and they get rushing yards too when he takes off and runs. And he's a tremendous athlete, hard to tackle. The backs are good. They do a great job getting a hat on a hat up front, and they do also. If you counted the passing yards they get on the RPOs in their run game, they'd lead the country because they get a lot of yards off that as well.
Kirby, I know you go way back with Coach Kiffin, but in the chess match, what makes him such a well-respected play caller? What does he do offensively, strategically, that makes his style so difficult to defend?
Yeah, he knows scheme. Lane's been around a lot of football. His dad's one of the greatest defensive minds there ever was. And when you start talking about Lane, being around him, talking ball, being with him, he knows how to attack defenses, probably at a higher rate than most offensive coordinators. He's been experienced with that. He knows the difficulties that come with it. Now, that's one thing to know it. It's another thing to have players that can take advantage of it. So he has that too. So when he has a quarterback that thinks like he does and they understand things, his offensive coordinator, Charlie, does a great job too. And they got Joe Cox, who was over here. They got really good offensive staff. So they know how to attack defenses, and that, at the end of the day, you can't make it about scheme. You got to make it about, do I play harder than the other guy across from me? Do I play smarter than the other guy across from me? Do I play more physical than the other guy? It still comes down to blocking and tackling a lot of times, and both teams do that well.
Post-game Saturday, you mentioned Carson and the receivers and kind of some miscommunications with signals and stuff like that. What do you guys do kind of between now and Ole Miss to solve for that before you go into another tough environment on the road?
Same as we've done every week. Practice it. Put it on tape. That's what we do. We practice it each week. We do it with crowd noise. We do it with different ways to communicate. And it doesn't take but one. You can do 52 of those right, and you do one wrong, and the one wrong is the one that people talk about. So you just got to do it right all the time.
Coach, what is your anticipation on Etienne's availability with the rib injury this week, and your run game in particular? Obviously, that's very important and kind of related, but I did want to get your thoughts on the weather. How closely are you watching it in terms of preparation for the possibility of rain? Yeah, we keep an eye on the weather at all times. We get updates each day, so we'll see kind of what happens with that. Etienne, I feel good about. He felt good yesterday and did some things yesterday with our guys, and I don't know a lot until we get out there and practice today, but we'll certainly see, how he feels. The trainer feels good about him, and the big thing is just his ability to sustain and deal with a little bit of pain, because he's going to have some there. But he is a tough kid, and I think he'll do well with it.
Hey, Coach, quick question is, it seems like week in and week out, obviously, these games get harder and harder. You said you guys want to peak at the right time. How do you mentally prepare your guys every single week to go into another tough SEC game, and not just another tough SEC game, but another tough road game? Every week is a season, and so we're on a new season this week, and I honestly think you prepare for things like this in the off season with the mental fortitude of your team, the conditioning that your strength staff does, the adversity you put in front of them. There's nothing that can simulate the schedule that we have. I can't go in the off season and simulate the schedule, but we try to be, businesslike and intense throughout the season and not treat one game bigger than the other, because when you do that, the kids kind of read into it. So for us, it's a lot of big games, and I think the elasticity of someone's ability to focus can be stretched, and we're trying to stretch that mental preparation so that they can do it over and over again throughout the season, however many games it takes.
Coach, can we get an update on Smile Munden? And maybe figure Roderick Robinson may be out for the season, but if he's not, let us know. And the latest on Anthony Evans and his hamstring.
Yeah, again, we're hopeful to get those guys back. It's the biggest thing. I don't know at what point it's going to happen, but each one of those guys rehabbing, working their butts off, and hoping to get back to help the team soon.
Watch why Japanese people eat white rice.
Rice is pure glucose in starch form. It is one of the fastest.
Coach, you faced a number of teams these last couple of years that play at a high pace. What makes what Ole Miss does offensively with their pace different than some of those other programs?
Well,
Ole Miss is a very super high pace. They get tons of snaps. Lane does a great job of doing that. It's not always tempo, although tempo factors into it. They want to they want to get you worn down. They want to get you tired. They want to go quick. But they do a little more than your traditional just fastball teams. They'll formation you. They'll motion, which some teams don't like to motion because it slows you down. They'll motion. They'll have different splits. They're creative within their tempo to not just do the same thing over and over. They do a good job mixing it up. It helps them in the run game. It limits defenses from doing as many things, but it's hard to simulate. I'll say that, and they've been very successful at it.
Commissioner Sankey released a fairly strongly worded memo about feigned injuries in the SEC. I wondered if you saw that as a growing problem in the league, and did you feel it necessary to address your players with what the commissioner said?
Yeah, I mean, I respect Commissioner Sankey and what he sends out. We don't condone that on our team or within our program, so we don't have to address it. We just keep telling them that if you're injured, you stay down, and if you're not, you get up and go play. That's our philosophy.
One more question.
Coach, at the beginning of the year, you talked about coaching up the bottom of the roster. It looked like there was a little bit more of a distribution of snaps on the defensive line. Are you starting to come into your?
How about that fake injuries? Yeah, we really don't have to address that. That's not how we run our program. This is going to be fun on Saturday. They both know each other. Lane Kiffin, Kirby Smart worked together in Tuscaloosa. Kirby's lost twice in Oxford. He's lost as a defensive coordinator for Alabama, and Hugh Freeze beat his brakes off in his first year as Georgia's coach. And then, of course, Georgia won big last year. That's what got Lane to. He's not dumb. He was talking to the alums in the post-game press conference after the absolute beatdown in Athens that they weren't good enough. They didn't have enough dudes in the line of scrimmage, and that the fans alums would have to continue to pony up to go get players. So do they have enough? Because it'll be a line of scrimmage. I mean, those are the three letters you need to think about all week. LOS. Line of scrimmage. This is going to be a line of scrimmage game. Now, if it rains and pours, where does that lead us as far as the running game, the football, that slippery little oblong object, and what happens with that with Jackson Dart and Carson Beck and the running backs and even receivers, right? With the football in their hand. Line of scrimmage. That Georgia defensive line, that Ole Miss defensive line. Really, which offensive line is going to have more success? Ole Miss or Georgia? Can you run the football at times successfully? Don't have to run it all day, maybe necessarily. But can you run it at times? We are the Out of Bounds Show. We're brought to you by Core Wellness and Recovery in the Township. They have an unbelievable state-of-the-art piece of equipment called Ted Hair Restoration, and they're having super success with males and females. So you're starting to lose your hair. Core Wellness and Recovery in the Township.
WRKS Pickens Jackson.
You ready?
Let's go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now live in the Bank Plus studio, where college football meets the all lifestyle.
Ladies and gentlemen,
This is the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds, streaming around the world live at the Out of Bounds radio app and on your radio at ESPN 105.9.
where are you?
The Zone.
Yeah, I'll talk a little Michael Van Buren. We've done Ole Miss Georgia all week, and we're going to do some more of it as the week unfolds. But and we'll hit the road to Phillip M's and Pearl River Resort and all that a little bit later in the week. What is today's Wednesday? Yeah, tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll go there tomorrow afternoon. Have a little dinner at Phillip M's. We'll do the show at Pearl River Resort, wherever they put me. Dancing Rabbit Golf Club or the Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook, the Timeout Lounge. Good morning. Welcome in. I'm your host, Bo Bounds. We are the Out of Bounds Show. ESPN 105.9 The Zone. We'll do this. My Michael Van Buren take will be brought to you by Highball Lane, super upscale bowling alley, real groovy, really Ritz-Carlton level bowling alley experience. Super cool bar and restaurant. You can get food taken over to you because they've got the couches and the big table for every bowling alley lane. Go ahead and book your employees. Let them have 2 or 3 hours of fun, as they should, here to wrap up the year. Book a party at Highball Lane's Ritz-Carlton level bowling alley, and then they've got the Station, which is a restaurant and bar with a big green space behind it. The Station in Jackson. This is all in Fondren. Highball Lanes, Ritz-Carlton level bowling, the Station in Jackson with the fantastic pizza and the green space behind it. Highball Lanes, the Station in Fondren. You're listening to 105.9 The Zone ESPN. And the Mack Hike Ford text line is 601-885-3776. Twitter handle at BoBounds. Twitter at BoBounds. And the Stella Artois caller line is 601-707-3750. 707-3750. Michael Van Buren has impressed me this year. You know, the world's kind of burning down around him. He's got a tremendous amount of poise, got crazy talent. Was committed to Oregon for a while. And, you know, he's out of Baltimore. And you remember The Wire, right? Yeah, he's out of that area. Yeah. The dude is, he's impressive young man. And Jeff Levy was able to get him in about a week. And if you didn't have him, you really wouldn't be, you know, I mean, you've had a rough year. You're the worst team in the league right now. Lots have gone against you the last 24 months. And a lot out of your control and some self-inflicted. But he's a guy that you can build around. He's a big-time player. He's got great touch, wonderful poise, athletic, can move around. He can run it. So you can win with that guy. You add some pieces, and you can win with that guy.
Feel like he's got a little moxie.
He does. He does. Baltimore, Maryland. You know, he's a dude. He's got a dude factor in him. So I like him. Saturday night's probably not going to go. 105,000 people, Neyland Stadium. Tennessee's 3-4 times better than you. They're really salty. They're better. They're kind of like Ole Miss. They're better on defense than they are on offense. So that could be overwhelming. I know he's played well at times on the road. I get that. At Texas, I don't know how you pulled at Texas, at Georgia. You know, at Ole Miss and at Tennessee. The SEC, it's a joke what they've done scheduling wise. But if you're Ole Miss and you're Tennessee, you're loving it. I get it. And Missouri. I mean, it does. I said Texas, right? Texas didn't play an away game in the league until last week.
Right.
I mean, come on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The 9th week into the season, they played a road game in the SEC. That's a joke. Whoever did the SEC scheduling couldn't cash flow a Chick-fil-A in Hoover, Alabama. Not surprising with the bureaucratic nonsense in the athletic administration conference office level. But anyway,
pay somebody to do that.
It's unreal. The discrepancy in strength of schedule in the league is crazy. But hey, man, if you're Texas, Ole Miss, Missouri, Tennessee, you are loving it. If you're Mississippi State, Oklahoma, I don't feel sorry for Georgia, but they pulled a brutal one. Or there was one other one. Florida. Then you're like, what in the hell happened? And you flip it next year. So it gets even worse for Mississippi State. Their winnable games were at home this year, but Michael Van Buren can play. He can.
Yeah. I mean, we said it earlier this year. The best thing about this whole situation is going to be that he's getting reps.
Yes.
And that he's growing up right there and right there.
Yeah.
He'll be dangerous
next year.
I mean, yeah.
They added the right pieces at wide receiver. I mean, Kelly and Coleman, and those guys can play, and there's an abundance of wide receivers. You got to get better at the line of scrimmage. I mean, you got to get some defensive linemen. You got to get some offensive linemen. So, the Twitter handle at Bowbounds, brought to you by your next toolbox at Rick's Pro Truck. Your next lift kit, spray and bed liner. That's powered by Rick's Pro Truck in Gluckstadt or Flowood. An RPT commercial also. Let's drop the Lane Kiffin. This is Lane Kiffin last year after Georgia took Ole Miss to the woodshed.
We got to recruit at a higher level, and I'm not blaming people. We got to coach better, but at some point, those stats are. We've signed 1 5-star. They've signed 24 or something. Those kind of do show up at some point. So we'd have to recruit at a better level, do a better job recruiting.
That was Lane. It's one of many. He's been very smart to do this. That was a call to action to the alums, and it has worked. Now, if they pull off, which won't be like an epic upset because they're only 2.5-point dogs. Okay. And they're at home. I mean, this is as good as it gets. You've had a Charmin soft schedule. Now you get Georgia at home. Georgia's good, but they're far from dominant or an elite team. Now, Jackson's saying, I don't know about that. He likes them. Now, they went to Texas and won. They went to Alabama, got down big, and came storming back, and I thought they were going to win the game. And then Jalen Milroe and Ryan Williams decided we want to win.
It's more of a what happens if they click.
Then Ole Miss won't win. No, you need Georgia to go in and throw up vomit all over themselves.
Right.
Yeah, you need Carson Beck to throw it right to an Ole Miss outside linebacker or a DB jumping a route.
Yeah.
And you need Carson Beck to get hit and fumble and the ball to swivel over and end up on the 4-yard line. He gets hit at the 14. The ball comes flying out. And all of a sudden, Walter Nolan jumps on it.
Boom.
On the 4-yard line. These are things that need to happen. You need to lose containment if Trey Harris plays or Jordan Watkins, and them to get behind which is easier said than done, to get behind the Georgia safeties and have an explosive 47-yard touchdown play. Those are things that need to happen.
Georgia will probably lose the turnover battle and win the ball game by 10.
Good morning. Welcome in. We are the Out of Bounds Show. ESPN 105.9 The Zone. We're brought to you by BetMGM, is the king of sports books. And the Beau Rivage is BetMGM Book Bar and Grill is the South's premier Vegas-style sports book. Experience the action at BetMGM Book Bar and Grill, only at the Beau Rivage on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. All right, good morning. Welcome in. We are the Out of Bounds Show, and we're driven by your next vehicle from Mack Hike Ford. Our friend Justin Waite, also golf insider for the Out of Bounds Show. He's with Mack Hike Ford, I-55 North in Jackson. He wants to buy your vehicle this week, and he will come to you. Right? If you're a nurse, if you're running your own business, if you're an attorney, if you're at a manufacturing facility, Justin Waite with Mack Hike Ford will come to you if you need to sell your vehicle. Justin Waite, good morning. Welcome in. How you doing?
Good, man. I appreciate you having me in again. It's always a fun time when we're here.
Tell everybody what you do again.
So, yeah, I'm the Vehicle Acquisitions Manager at Mack Hike Ford in Jackson, and I buy used cars for our store. And if you have a vehicle that you need to get rid of, whether you want to sell it or you're thinking about trading it on something else, even if it's not for a Ford or something at my store, I want to buy your car. I want to put the most money in your pocket, and I will do it fast, and I will do it easy.
And he's done it. People have been listening, and they have contacted us or Justin, and we've had, like, War Eagle Rich. He was like, he made it easy. Boom. He met us, gave us the price. We did it. We're done. A lot of you don't. I don't want to spend a lot of time on that stuff. Now, some people love to shop this stuff, and that's great. And Justin and them will work with any kind of client, buyer or seller. But I want to go, all right, Justin, give me the price. Let's roll. And I want to move on. Justin Waite with Mack Hike Ford. So have you visited anybody this week or last week?
Yeah, last week I did check out a couple vehicles. I've got some stuff lined up today. I'm going to be buying 3 today. So it's
love it.
Yeah, it's constantly moving.
Yeah,
which is fun.
Yeah,
it's I enjoy meeting new people and just talking to new people and hearing everybody's stories. Hey, I start with tell me about your car, and most of the time we end up on golf or college football.
Yeah, or some good food place to go.
Great food, man.
Yeah.
I'm always up for a new food place.
Yeah, it's National Nachos Day. We were talking about the nachos at Martin's in Livingston. Amazing. Jackson, we hit Burgers Blues Barbecue and their pulled pork nachos, and several other places. Justin Waite, Mack Hike Ford on the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Vehicle Acquisitions Manager. He wants to buy your car. He will also come to your office or home and give you a price, get the deal done, make it easier on your schedule and what all you have to do. He also likes to play a little golf. You played golf in the last 2 or 3 weeks?
Yes, I played this past weekend and I'm playing in a tournament on Monday at Reunion. So got a couple of Mack Hike teams in there, and
That's
we're going to
cool.
hold the fort down.
Dude, how nice a course is Reunion?
It's incredible. Like, it is incredible.
So pretty. We're lucky. I interviewed David Duvall. At the Viking. It was right when Reunion was like a year and a half in, and he said, and Annandale is beautiful too. And it was when the tournament was in Annandale, and he said, I said, well, what do you think about the course? He said, man, this course is great. Talking about Annandale. He said, but let me tell you something about that course. He said, as that matures in the next 4 or 5 years, that's going to be the course around here.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite hole on Reunion?
I don't remember the number. I can tell you the layout.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's a dog leg left, par 4, and it's got the bunkers that come out on the corner.
Okay.
So you either have to fly the corner, fly over the bunker,
Which I couldn't do.
or you have to kind of lay up out to the right.
Okay.
That's my favorite hole out there, but every hole out there
is nice.
And I know, like, there's some holes that I don't play from the tips, but I know, like, there's some par 3s out there from the tips. It's like 250, 255-ish. And
I'd put up about an 8.
yeah, I mean, would he do, choke down on a driver? That's what Ryan and I were talking about yesterday. Like, how do you play this hole from back there? And,
right.
But we played in a tournament at Jackson Country Club the week after the
nice
Sanderson.
Course.
Yeah, it was fun. It was in good shape.
Oh, it was in PGA shape.
Yeah, they still had the grandstands up, and it was cool hitting into some of those greens.
How about that?
With the stands still up. Your average guy don't really get to experience that a lot.
So you got the PGA rough and greens right after the Sanderson.
Yeah, and I'll say this. Jackson Country Club is a nice course.
Yeah.
I always enjoy playing there.
Yeah.
The greens at Reunion, in my opinion,
right,
they just roll so much more pure. And as you said a while ago, like as that course has aged,
matured,
and kind
absolutely.
of and matured and grown into itself, it is fine.
Yeah,
it is.
No question. Justin Waite, Golf Insider, also Mac Hike Ford, Vehicle Acquisitions Manager. He wants to buy your vehicle this week or next. So if you want to sell your vehicle, you're busy, he will come to you, look at it, give you a price, get the deal done, and make it easy on all of us. Justin Waite, Mac Hike Ford, I-55 North in Jackson, wants to buy your car. All right, we got a big weekend this weekend, man. Georgia at Ole Miss. Bama at LSU. Saban going back to Baton Rouge to do 3 hours worth of game day.
Yeah.
It's going to be wild in Baton Rouge.
It's going to be.
How many beers you think will be drank? 350,000?
Probably more than that. Honestly.
There'll be 100-something thousand people in the stands, and then there'll be, 60, 70,000 people outside the stadium?
Yeah, that number's for frat row, maybe 350.
That's a good point. Justin Waite, my man, thank you for coming in.
I appreciate it. Always enjoy it.
And I wish you the best playing Reunion on Monday.
Man, thank you.
That sounds awesome.
I'll text you and let you know how it goes.
I like that Titleist hat, too.
Appreciate it.
Justin Waite, Mac Hike Ford wants to buy your vehicle. Vehicle Acquisitions Manager. And he will come to you and give you the price, get the deal done, and make it easy for you. At Mac Hike Ford, I-55 North in Jackson. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. We are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. We're going to have Dave Bartu after the show. So Bartu's bangers, and he's going to go crazy on college football playoffs, which Jackson and I were talking about earlier. Miami didn't even get number 2 in the college football. They're undefeated, and they're number 4.
They ain't beating nobody.
Oregon's undefeated. They're number 1. And Bartu was talking about how the SEC got the, he kind of thinks the benefit of the doubt. I don't necessarily think so. No, but seriously.
Yeah, they got the reward. The reward for doing what we've been doing for however long we've been doing it.
Ohio State's number 2. Georgia's number 3 with a loss. So Ohio State and Georgia with a loss, then Miami at 9-0, and then Texas at 7-1. He said Penn State and LSU were ranked too high in the college football playoff rankings. LSU, by the way, at 15, 3 spots out at number 12. Ole Miss, 4 spots out at number 16. Obviously, if they lose Saturday to Georgia, they're out. If they win, they're still in the hunt.
Yeah, I would think it's gonna be tough. I think between Georgia and Ole Miss.
Yeah,
but to me, beating Georgia would be enough, at least for me next week, to move them up to 12.
Okay, yeah, I see where you're going. Right now, 12 is Boise State. It's 7-1. Alabama's hanging in there at number 11 with 2 losses.
Yeah. So every week is the playoff till the rest of the season.
Oh, man. Bama. Alabama with 2 losses. Going down to LSU. It's going to be a wild one in Baton Rouge. Justin Waite, let him buy your vehicle this week or next or anytime. Mac Hike Ford, I-55 North in Jackson, Golf Insider, and Vehicle Acquisitions Manager at Mac Hike Ford, I-55 North in Jackson. He'll come to you, he'll buy your vehicle, and he'll make it easy on your schedule. What? All right, good morning. Good morning, good morning. Am I loud? Do I sound awesome? Okay.
Always.
All right. Out of Bounds brought to you by Highball Lanes, Ritz-Carlton Level Bowling. Book your Christmas holiday party, employee party. Highball Lanes. Go ahead and grab 3, 4, 5 lanes. They bring food out to you, and the food's like really, really good. The restaurant's amazing. Bar's great. Highball Lanes in Fondren. Book it right now. The station. Right there. Beside Highball Lanes. With the green space in the back. Great place to watch the games, play cornhole. Wonderful pizzas. All in Fondren. Good morning. Welcome in. We are the Out of Bounds Show. 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. And the Mac Hike Ford text line is 601-885-3776. I think a lot of people stayed up late last night watching the election. It's just like those games where you have to stay up late throughout the year. Like, I don't have to watch Sunday night or Monday night football all the way through. But, man, super regionals with Mississippi State and Ole Miss. There have been some big basketball games that don't tip. Yeah, I mean, late for me. Maybe not late for you. But don't tip till 8 o'clock. Those things are crazy. The Super Bowl is a pretty good spot for us, even doing morning radio. It starts at 5:30, over at 8:45-ish. And y'all have listened to me for years. I don't do the party for the Super Bowl. We just chill. But I know a lot of you are hungover on Monday. Some of you are hungover today, good and bad. Some of you are celebrating Trump's win, and some of you are licking your wounds. And there's going to be many more matchups between those, between the R's and the D's. But we talked about the epic comeback, and we compared it to the Red Sox being down 3-0 to the Yankees. That was like 20 years ago, 21 years ago. Schilling with the... What?
04.
Okay, so 20 years ago.
Ahead.
I was in my second year of sports talk radio here. And Schilling and the bloody sock and all of that. And the curse. The curse of the Bambino. Yeah. And then we also mentioned LeBron being down 3-1 to that powerhouse Golden State Warriors team. That was unreal. I was cheering for the Cavs and how he brought them back. They had no business winning. And then Tom Brady and the Patriots down 28-3 to the Falcons. Just dominated.
Yeah.
Dominated for a half. Dominated. And then I thought about Villanova beating Georgetown. What an upset that was. Now, this thing was trending the right way for a while for Trump, but as I'm talking about being down and out after losing the 2020 election, you usually don't come back. Who was it? Grover
did it.
Grover Cleveland is the one that has served non-consecutive terms.
Right.
Okay. Nobody thought that Trump would ever be president. 2016, Hillary was supposed to win. But people who were looking at the polls outside of the MSM felt good about it. There were some, not all. I mean, some of the main polls that like ABC, NBC, CBS referenced throughout the thing, that's why it tricked people. They were giving you bogus numbers. There was a lot of that going into this campaign too. But he got off the mat after getting beat in 2020. And,
getting embarrassed.
Everything went he got embarrassed. Everything went sideways. No one handled COVID well. That was way, 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 way overblown. And then he lost, and then he comes back. And what's insane is the Democrats literally took Biden out. We've talked about how coaches get taken out. I mean, there's been times you're like, whoa, I can't believe that just happened. Right? I mean, we all know what Philip Fulmer did to Johnny Majors. I mean, my God, the guy's in the hospital. Whew. That was Roman type stuff, Caesar type stuff. But there have been power plays in athletic departments and front offices in every sport. We know about it. There have been power plays put on people by big alums. Hell, Mike Leach was hired as Tennessee's coach. The athletic director was on a private plane on the way back to Knoxville. They fired him.
Yeah.
Then they hired Jeremy Pruitt,
What
who
a-
didn't like asparagus.
What a blob.
You know, I mean, good Lord. We have had the coup d'etat. You've had all kinds of crazy things happen in sports, power plays. Democrats pulled a power play on Joe Biden
Yeah, they
and
did.
Jill Biden. Whew. Took him out to the pasture.
I mean,
and just inserted Harris. Boom.
you really think they had a shot if he stayed?
I do.
I do
Maybe.
too.
Better
shot than she
I
did,
don't
yeah.
know. The attempted assassination thing and Elon, I didn't know.
Right, you
Nobody knew
can't
that was
account
going to
for
play
that.
off.
No.
Play out. Elon Musk and because he doesn't care.
Yeah,
He doesn't give a damn that not everybody, most everybody else in that sector believes they have to go one way and lets you know it on whatever amazing mega platform, social media platform they have. You know, Google has not apologized. They're like, we give the benefit of the doubt in search engines to the Democrats. I mean, Elon will post about it. But Elon that afternoon posting after Trump survived, if that doesn't happen, I don't know.
I don't think he wins.
But when you look at what Trump did in the Rust Belt and in Florida, it's crazy. So,
Got a feeling whoever ran that campaign is going to get a lot of more offers.
Yeah.
That's why they're a
Yeah,
hot
they
commodity.
ran a good in 2020. They did not. Now there was a lot going on with COVID. You know, the Democrats were smart. They just kept Biden in the basement and won and used COVID against him, in which they weaponized. But and some people said if Trump would have just stayed in the basement, he would have won. But Trump's not going to do that. So and he ran it all the way into 4 a.m. in the morning yesterday.
Another day, another dollar.
That guy, he may have lost. I mean, he won, but he worked it.
Right.
I mean, we just kept campaigning, never stopped. And then he went on Joe Rogan for 3 hours. We're in the podcast world.
3 hours.
The new media set the tone forever. The Fox, CNBC, CNN, I mean, it was already coming to an end, just like the newspapers in 04, 06, and 08. But if you thought that it was coming to an end, Elon and Rogan and Lex Friedman and they put it's over. Unless you're over 60, it's over. They do not have that. Look at the 18 to 24 vote yesterday. And what do they listen to? Podcasts, YouTube videos. So whether it was Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or they actually watch Trump and Rogan.
Yeah.
This is a tone setter forever. It's over. It's never going back. It's never going back to ABC, NBC, CBS. Okay? It's not. Because, that viewer is probably skews 63 to 66 years old. It's never going back there. But the podcast, 18 to 35, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, where Trump went, who's older, we all know who is older than that. That's insane.
He ate him up.
I mean, the Rogan and YouTube was trying to suppress the Rogan Trump pod or interview of 3 hours. So anyway, all right, we are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. BetMGM is the king of sports books. And the Beau Ravage's BetMGM Book Bar and Grill is the South's premier Vegas-style sports book. Visit a live betting window, self-service kiosk, or use the BetMGM app to place your bets on your favorite games and sporting events. The app offers free-to-play promotions, live betting options, and boosted odds specials at your fingertips. Experience the action at BetMGM Book Bar and Grill, only at the Beau Rivage on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. This is Tom Luganville previewing Ole Miss and Georgia, and it is the game of the week brought to you by a Tito's Vodka Bloody Mary. You mentioned Georgia going to Ole Miss. Ole Miss is coming off an amazing weekend where they throttled Arkansas, Jackson Dart, a record-setting day.
Yep.
Like you said, Georgia is coming off Carson Beck throwing 3 picks, and they had to do what they had to do in the second half to win the game. Now, Ole Miss can't run the football, and Henry Parrish is out.
Right.
So, having said that, Georgia at Ole Miss, let's start first with the Ole Miss offense against Kirby Smart and I guess Shulman or whatever's defense. If Ole Miss can't run the football, what's the path, or how does this look to you, Luke's?
I think the path is explosive. You're if you can't run the football, it's hard to sustain drives, right? So I think they're going to have to come up with ways to get 15, 20, 30-yard chunk plays that flip the field and put them in position to score. Because I just think for anybody, not just Ole Miss, but if you can't effectively or consistently run the ball, and then also that impacts, as we've talked about before, that also impacts your ability to go fast, which we know Ole Miss wants to do as often as they possibly can. Well, if you can't run the ball and you can't get first downs, it slows you down, and that's not the mode of operation that Ole Miss wants to be in.
Okay, so it's all on if Trey Harris is back, but it's kind of all on Dart, Prescorn, Jordan Watkins, and possibly Trey Harris to move the ball against, and they could be one-dimensional.
Yeah, they could be, and they may have to be. You know, I mean, and then you got to put some of the onus on Georgia too to actually perform. You know, like I said, if there was a time for Ole Miss to get Georgia, this is it, because Georgia has done so many things that most teams would lose a game as a result of, that they haven't lost because they've been able to compensate with talent. So if you're going to have a shot, this is probably the moment you've got to have it.
All right, let's flip it. Tom Luganville with ESPN on the Out of Bounds show. Pete Golding and the Ole Miss defense going against Bobo and Carson Beck and the Georgia offense.
Well, listen, I think that Georgia is throwing the football way too much. Georgia is not a team that wants to throw it 50 times, 45 times, even 40 times a game. And the way that Carson Beck is playing and how irresponsible he has been valuing the football should be super concerning, obviously, but it could end up being something fantastic for Ole Miss, because the reality is Georgia hasn't run the football well either. Talking about Ole Miss not running it well, Georgia hasn't run it well. I think that's prompted them to have to throw it more than they'd like. And the offensive line play for Georgia has not been what obviously they would expect, but I think what any of us thought that it would or could be. And if you're looking at Ole Miss and why they went out in the offseason and made the moves that they made in the transfer portal, this is an opportunity for that Ole Miss defensive front to tee off a little bit. See what they got in them.
All right, I think the defenses could rule the day here in Oxford, and it could be.
It could.
I think it could be extremely difficult to move it up and down the field for both offenses. The line's 2.5. So, bottom line, who do you like in the game?
I probably would say Georgia, but my reason is I guess somewhat weird. Until Ole Miss can prove that they belong with the big boys by routinely beating the big boys, because a lot of our talk with Ole Miss, right, is they've loaded up through the transfer portal, through recruiting, to build a roster that, and Nick Saban said this, I think, on the first or second week of game day, is, you know, Ole Miss has always had the skill to match up with us. Where they couldn't compete was up front on both sides of the ball. And he wasn't wrong. He's right there. But now you got to take that. You actually got to make it happen. And we haven't seen that yet from Ole Miss. And so until we do, I kind of tend to lean towards Georgia.
Yeah. All right. So in the line of scrimmage, even though Ole Miss's front seven on defense has played really well, in the line of scrimmage, you give Georgia a slight edge or a little bit more edge than that?
With Georgia's defensive front?
No, both sides of the ball.
Yeah, probably Georgia slightly, but not much. Again, I think this game in particular, like I said, because of the way Georgia's playing, this is the opportunity for Ole Miss. They gotta, and let me tell you something. If Georgia hands them some gifts, which Georgia has done versus just about every opponent they've played this year, then Ole Miss has to capitalize on those gifts. Like, you can't have Carson Beck throw 3 picks and come away with 3 points.
Right.
Make sense?
Is he just not as good? Is Carson Beck just not as good as we thought he was? Or is it because those two guys are in the NFL? One is a receiver, one is a tight end with Brock Bowers, and what's his name, McConkey? Are playing big-time football with the Chargers and the Raiders. And they just, you can't especially Bowers, who's a generational player. How would you frame that up?
I don't think the personnel has been as good around him, and that's fine. But it's better than what the vast majority of college football is playing with at the quarterback position. So I think there's plenty there. But I also think, Bo, that with the offseason of hype and anticipation, the overexposure on social media, the TikTok stuff, he's got to start backing away, I think, from some of the stuff that doesn't matter and start refocusing and recalibrating on what it takes to be a great football player. Because I just think that to some degree he's too caught up in being Carson Beck.
That's right. He's dating that celebrity, the women's basketball player who transferred from Miami maybe to TCU and then transferred back, and they're TikTok and Instagram stars, and maybe he's caught up in some of that. Okay, fair enough. He was 25 of 40, 309, 2 TDs, and 3 picks against.
And he made some nice plays.
Yeah.
He made some nice plays, especially late, but by that time he didn't need to because Florida couldn't function on offense.
Okay, as far as Georgia's running game, Nate Frazier is a back that
freshman
looks pretty good for them. And then that was really, I mean, they've got a Dylan Bell and an ETN from Florida who only did 7 carries for 31 yards. So how would you?
They're not running the ball well, man.
No. Neither team.
They're like Ole Miss. I'm telling you, it's very similar. Neither team is running the football well. But when I say that, because of that, I think Ole Miss is more equipped to be one-dimensional in the pass game because they're more accustomed to that than Georgia is.
Okay.
I think Georgia at their core wants to run a power spread, run the football, come off of play action, take shots, and just press repeat. Do that on a loop. And the fact that they can't effectively run the football takes them completely out of their play action game and makes them more of a drop back team. And I don't think that's what they want to be.
Okay. Oh, man. So neither team's running the ball well. And both defenses can get after you. This could be a wild one in Oxford. I think so. I can't wait. I cannot wait. 2:30 Saturday, biggest game in the history of Ole Miss, period, but at home, including Eli that was huge. Eli hosting LSU and beating Alabama in 2014. There's been other big games. This is the biggest game because of the playoff implications. It's the biggest game. Georgia, Kirby Smart, Ole Miss, Kiffin. Again, they spent time together on staff under Saban at Alabama. The storylines are amazing. Kiffin is the portal king. Kirby is the number 1, number 2 recruiter, whatever. He and Bama tied for one. One does very little in the portal. One loaded up in the portal. One has 1 loss at Bama. One has 2 losses at home against Kentucky, at LSU. Both good teams. And what's going to give in the line of scrimmage as far as running the football and explosive plays? And then maybe one big right? Who could have the one? Dart gets hit, fumble. Georgia recovers on the 3. Beck gets hit, fumble. Ole Miss recovers inside the 5. That's also, if you're going to get aggressive and go for it on 4th down. Yeah. Especially with those 2 line of scrimmages on defense. Who's going to be more aggressive and who's going to let things play out and kind of come to them? In other words, in a game like this where points may be a premium, I understand you want to play to win, but also, are you going to set it? There's going to be a lot of hype and energy at 2:30, 2:35, whatever. And are we going to get a possession or two or we're feeling it out? Or are you just going to let it rip? And who can establish the run, if at all, early? What is that going to look like?
Is this a let it rip ball team? It doesn't feel like one.
Defenses have dominated this year. Both of these defenses are really, Ole Miss is number 1. As far as scoring efficiency. Georgia, it doesn't have a dominating defense, but they have a good defense, and they have players. When they turned it on against Texas, they were nasty. I think you could have and with the rain, if the rain, it's you don't ever know if that's scattered, if it misses, but if it's rain and sloshy, how does that look? I know how it looks for me. It's National Nacho Day. And Burgers Blues Barbecue, they have pulled pork nachos. Okay? And I'm down with that. This is ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Martin's in Livingston. Oh, my gosh. I love it. They have 3 different nacho appetizers at Martin's in Livingston, including the pork bite nachos. And then I consider the homemade pork rinds at Martin's in Livingston nachos. By damn, with an ice cold Budweiser or Stella Artois. Also, don't forget, you can put together some nachos at Aplos in the Renaissance in Aplos and Highland Village. Thanks for listening to the show. Don't forget that Core Wellness and Recovery has cryotherapy, IVs. Thank God some of you are going to need them today. And TED Hair Restoration. They're having big-time success with males and female hair growth at Core Wellness and Recovery in the township. See you tomorrow.